Very happy to be here at the COP28. Joining me right now is Dr. Andrew Fowler, the founder and executive chair of Fortescue, one of Australia's largest mining companies, and also a pioneer in the green hydrogen space as well. Dr. Forrest, thanks for taking the time and meeting us here.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Let us start with a letter that you've co-signed. You're raising the alarms about extreme humidity levels caused by the global warming. What can you tell us about what you've termed as the lethal humidity?
So we as a human race, as a species, we can actually handle heat, but it's not heat which is going to kill us. It is the rapidly escalating rise in humidity caused by heat. Now, and it's running at several times quicker than the rise in heat. It's humidity which shuts down the human's ability to thermoregulate, for you to be able to release the energy which you release all the time. If you can't release that energy within minutes to hours, depending on your health, your age, your infancy, etc., if you're on medication, you'll die. Maximum 6 hours, shortest in minutes. And we as a planet have not experienced levels of humidity which we're receiving now. It's come from the oceans. As oceans expel more water vapor, they create these violent weather events which are also new, but they're also creating humidity which humans can't escape unless they can get to air conditioning. And please don't have any viewer in the Middle East think they can rely on air conditioning, because when you get a lethal heat and lethal humidity event, every air conditioner goes on and the grid shuts down. It means your beautiful hotel room or house could well become a coffin.
What do governments need to do in terms of facilitating the policy shifts in order to accelerate the proliferation and deployment of renewable energy?
So over time, say over this decade, we need to phase out the $1 trillion odd of subsidies, which are really stopping the, as you say, proliferation of green energy.
The fossil fuel subsidies.
Fossil fuel subsidies, thank you. Yes, sir. So we have right now a government enforced blocker to renewable energy called massive government subsidies on fossil fuel. Second, we need to price the damage which fossil fuel does in a proper global carbon tax. Third, bring in incentives, just roll what's killing us into what will save us for anything green. The Middle East in particular has a fantastic opportunity to capture way more energy than ever it's got underneath its feet, just from the movement of wind and the advancing, sadly, heat, which is bearing down on the Middle East, bearing down on the world because of global warming. Let's capture that and drive what is killing us out of the atmosphere.
But renewables today, Dr. Forrest, are not being deployed at the rate needed to decarbonize electricity, let alone make hydrogen. Producing hydrogen is highly intensive. It could easily consume the green energy that could have, powered our homes, our cars. Are you worried that green hydrogen could lead to an unhealthy competition between green hydrogen and the grid, which eventually could reduce or even reverse the overall intended climate effect?
Let's just look at that. If we're all fighting over one oil well in UAE or Saudi Arabia, then that argument would stick. But we're not. We've got oil wells all over the world. Okay, as more and more energy was needed, more and more oil got pumped out of the ground. That obvious logic seems to stop when people think about renewable energy. They think, oh no, it's going to run out. Actually, it's so much more infinite than oil and gas will ever be. No, we just need to continue growing the renewable energy out. The energy market there is obviously the same as the oil and gas market now. It's tens of trillions of dollars. That's the capacity of that market. Do we need to grow it out? Do we need to stop subsidizing the extinction of every person in the Middle East and the human race? Yeah, we do. That's probably common sense. Second, do we need to put a price on the poison which we breathe and which is cooking our atmosphere? Do we need to put a price on that? Of course we do. That's logical too. These are the simple steps. Do we need to encourage not the $1 trillion of fossil fuel, but say just $500 billion of renewable energy to see that really proliferate? Do we need to do that? Of course we need to do that. These are the simple steps we need to take to make sure that there's abundant, very cheap energy from solar, from wind, from the other source of renewable energy to fully power the world. And of course, if we don't do it, then we're exposing our citizens to a very, very uncomfortable death, and people are dying from this death called lethal humidity as I speak. China, North America, India, Middle East, it gets misdiagnosis, heat stress, heart attack, etc., but it's humidity-caused death.
Announced hydrogen projects today up until 2030, despite its small size, it still exceeds projected demand. What needs to be done to foster demand for green hydrogen?
Yeah, so I don't know what projected demands we're looking at here, but I obviously haven't seen them because our customers are looking for green hydrogen and green ammonia in terms of millions and millions of tons, not thousands, millions. And just floating in the harbour, not far from where we are in the Dubai Marina, is the world's first hydrogen-fueled ship. Now, it wasn't able to sail in here because the Dubai port authorities, like all the other port authorities around the world, haven't got around to allowing in pollution-free ships. They'll allow in ships which are going to kill your kids with bunker sea oil, with diesel, that come right on in. But ammonia hydrogen-powered ship, oh sorry, you've got to wait. So as I've spoken to the heads of the Dubai port authorities, like I have the Los Angeles port authorities or Hong Kong or Rotterdam, they were saying, okay, we didn't know the technology was here. We didn't know there was the demand. Well, the technology is here, there is the demand. Now we've got to get on and produce it. And the world shipping industry has got to look at the Fortescue Green Pioneer and say, oh my God, hydrogen-fueled ships are here. We're not letting it in because our regulations are so archaic, so backwards. We can fix that. Let's get hydrogen shipping going. And I'm going to say to all my friends in the oil and gas sector who really don't like the look of that ship, who really have stopped support being given to hydrogen ships around the world, who have stopped support for, say, even Dubai ports, to really get excited about this, I want to say to them in the eye, hey, yes, you can make a fortune from energy, but it's not oil and gas. The problem is you have to change, not your market, you.
And do you foresee green ammonia to be the leading end-use sector for green hydrogen?
I think in the short term it will be, because it can just do anything which bunker sea oil or diesel can do. It's just a slow burning fuel exactly like them, needs an accelerant. So it can do everything it can, and you can transport it all over the world. You can make it in bulk from green sources. If you try and make it from fossil fuel sources, of course, you're going to speed up global warming and you're faking it. If it's made from a green source, you're not going to multiply the carbon dioxide in the air through making ammonia, which is how hundreds of millions of tons of ammonia are made right now through burning fossil fuel, destroying our planet. It can be made from renewable electricity, so let's make it from renewable electricity.
My last question with regards to the electrolyzer, that part of the value chain, what needs to be happening right now in order to foster all this talk about green hydrogen supply and demand?
Okay, so I think what the Americans did was pretty smart. They put a tax credit on an industry which doesn't even exist, and all the bankers have run off and they've priced that tax credit. It's obviously paper money because the industry doesn't even exist yet, but they've given you a $3 credit as a tax credit on this industry, which they'd love to see getting going, and that realizes into a proper credit right now. So if you want to get the electrolyzer industry ramped up, use this, if you like, paper money, which is give a credit on an industry which doesn't yet exist. But if it gets into existence, if it gets rolling and makes a profit, pays tax, you'll give a credit. That is so smart. It just will fire the industry right now, cost the ratepayer, the public, not a cent.
Dr. Andrew Forrest, thank you, and it's good to see you here in Dubai.
No, sir, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Cheers.